All right. So, anyways, let's talk about Frank Reich because this morning, wake up, he's fired.
Yep.
This is the third coach in 3 years that I think has been fired in the NFL in just a year. So, the NFL, like the patience level, is at an all-time low, and I don't think it's good for quarterbacks. I don't think it's good for teams. Now, the owners, this guy, David Tepper, who, of course, the report was that he walked out of the building saying "fuck" yesterday, which I guess is a bad sign.
You see, in the last 5 years, including the Panthers, he also owns the soccer team. He's also fired 2 of their head coaches. So the past 5 years, he's fired 5 head coaches.
Is this the worst job in the NFL? Honestly, because Ben Johnson knew it. He didn't take it, and like he's the guy that, he said I'm giving up my ticket on the Titanic. I got somewhere to be.
I think it's the best job in the NFL, Chris, and hear me out.
Okay, this is gonna be.
I mean, it's just dollars and cents. You get the job, you get fired, you get
paid. Right? But that's what I was going to say. You got to have your guarantees up in this situation because you might
You walk
be
in, you go to the Charlotte night race, you have a good time, you make how much? How many a year?
I don't know what he's making.
Cost of living is very cheap down there.
But, this whole year, the play calling thing, him giving the play calling up, him ripping it back, you hear about the draft. You hear Reich evidently doesn't want, Bryce. He wants C.J. Stroud.
Oof.
Which is... You never
Hearsay.
know where this information is coming from at this point. Like maybe you call your buddy in the media 2 weeks into camp, and you're like, "I'm going to need you to run with that rumor," or maybe you really wanted him. And in that case, I think Frank Reich was really fucked here and he should have known that too. To take the job, know the owner, know how involved he's going to be, know where his head's at.
The unknown's Bryce, though. I mean, we didn't know that Bryce wouldn't be able to elevate this poorly constructed football team. We didn't know that, Bryce Young. I mean, things wouldn't sync up. It just hasn't looked right the whole year. And they shuffled, like you said, they shuffled the play calling. Thomas Brown in, and then a week or two later, he's out. We're shuffling this thing around like a hot potato. Who's going to get fired first and why?
Well, it's you bring in Miles Sanders, who I like Miles Sanders, but again, it's like all of a sudden football looks like a different sport for him. I mean, it's like running behind that Eagles offensive line is a different experience.
People don't get that.
It's different. And going down to Carolina, you see, hey, that free agent pickup kind of doesn't pan out. The offensive line's not great. They actually are worse than you'd think they'd be, And then Thielen, who's actually played pretty well for them, is a veteran addition. So he's kind of past his prime. So it's not like they did a lot.
And he's been
to set
nailed.
This guy up.
He's been
great.
We said that it's the poorly constructed
picks. A lot of great number one picks that are quarterbacks have struggled as rookies. So
yes.
When I'm looking at that job compared to something like the Raiders, at least you have a quantity that could be great.
You have an unknown quantity, but it's less unknown than the Raiders' job. But I still think it's the worst job.
It's just impatience on behalf of the owner, and that's really what makes it so bad. Charlotte's a great town. It's not one of those markets that you get swallowed up in as a coach. You're not going to be micromanaged by the media. You got fucking.
Charlotte's a great town.
You got like
player
3 beat
coaching.
reporters in there a day. It's not like playing in New York or any of that stuff.
I almost texted Johnny Hecker this morning, hang in there. You're back on the Rams, like the OG Rams. Like in his career, Johnny Hecker was on. This is the type of teams that I was on early in my career. And, like seeing these guys go through it, I feel for a guy like Brian Burns, who's been really solid for them for a long time now, for 5-6 years. He's closing in on 50 sacks.
Perennial STL Memorial.
I was on a team with Blaine Gabbert.
Were you?
And it was the same thing.
Well, we know because we talked about it.
Looking
Your
ahead
girl
for
liked
this
Blaine
season.
Gabbert from the mailbag last week.
Looking ahead for this season, I talked about Chris Tabor and the Carolina Panthers and my America's team. What I failed to mention or remind people of is that against the Bears a few weeks ago, this is who you're getting as a coach, by the way, during the interim. He's a guy that's like, fuck it. I mean, I'm playing with house money, right, in this situation. He put Eddie Pinheiro, former Bear, out there in a game-winning situation in which Eddie Pinheiro shook him off, and he was like, no. Give it a go.
Really? How far back?
I mean, he was out of his range. And even Eddie was like, nah, bro. And Eddie's like a soccer playing motherfucker. He's like, let me kick it.
Yeah.
So Bryce Young, if you're going to Men in Black, pew, if you're going to flash everybody there, that's going to be part of your core moving forward, and you're going to forget about this season, why not say fuck it, take shots? I think that he's going to be in the ear of whoever's calling the plays saying, fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got
It could be some fun ball
So
in
we
Carolina.
got maybe some fakes or like a surprise.
Dude, you're
onside
going to
kick
see
come in,
awesome
maybe.
special
Pull out
teams
the
fakes.
stops,
That's a
dude.
great
I know.
point. Chris Tabor's been waiting. He's been sitting on a stack of
love it.
index cards,
I love
and
that.
he's just, he's just a shiesty old dude.
Now
trying
I'm
to
the guy calling the plays. As long as
scheme
David
people up.
Tepper's not got a
I'm
direct
rooting
line
for you,
down
Chris
to me.
Tabor. You're a great
Yeah.
dude, man.
Yeah.